So tell us a little bit about Fritz, maybe from the beginning and how you got to know him, how you met him.
I'm not sure where I met Fritz. I wonder when that first. Probably saw him around the square, or possibly coming down this street, the Cuesta de la Fuente. His laughter carried a long distance, and he used to wear boots. You could hear the boots quite a long ways away too. Ha 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 ha! That a long ways away too. Fritz used to hang out in the square, and there were about 5 or 10 of us at one point that did that, and that was a meeting point. We'd spend the morning an hour there or so, and got to be a very dear friend.
Um, Maybe you could tell us a little bit about being around him, in his best and his worst.
I don't know what the worst would be. Fritz seemed to be on top of it, really, really above everything, and uh, had a. He was always on the edge of mirth. He was always on the point of laughing, and physically his body was always in kind of a dynamic tension. It was always. Those were kind of psychedelic times back there. We were interested in psychedelics, and we took them very seriously. We did fasting and lots of organization. We were very private about it, or else either at home or in the country. But it was we took it very seriously. 1969, 1970, and it was a very private thing. We wouldn't tell anybody if we were going to have a psychedelic trip. But if Fritz were around, he was automatically invited. He was the absolute exception to that. It was a pleasure to have him around because he was psychedelic most of the time. He was great company.
Great, one second, I'm going to switch something here. Yeah, wasn't Fritz part of the original acid test sort of thing, or where you were actually administered and you were given it by the government and you could have access to LSD, or?
It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm not sure where Fritz was before here. I think he was from Hawaii. I think he lived in Italy. I'm not sure he was on the great bus further, but because I think he was here since 1963. I came in '64, and I think Fritz was in Torremolinos then. But when I first came here, I came here because my brother had a wild weekend with Fritz and EJ, and they'd come up from Torremolinos on a motorcycle. I'm not sure that was the first time Fritz was here, but they were down in Norma's house in Rio Abajo for a 48-hour weekend. And when I got to Spain in June of '64, practically the first thing Andre said is, "You got to check out this village down south." And I'm not sure I met Fritz that early, but probably very soon, probably that year. I'm not sure exactly when. He was such a constant, really, in my life.
Yeah, what kind of experiences are most memorable to you with him? Was it traveling or was it sort of being around here?
The most memorable thing about Fritz is that amazing energy. It wasn't. I don't think there was. I don't think I remember a specific thing about him. It's just the encounter was always direct and intense, and as I say, almost laughing, joyous. Even outside of Mojaca, when we spent a year in Aspen in 1975, and invited Fritz to come, and he came, and actually stayed in the house. That's the closest we were together physically, because we shared the same place for about a month. And we went backpacking once. Well, not backpacking, went into the mountains for a few hours. And he was in the house painting. I remember he kept the television set on, but not on a particular channel. He just kept it on for the static. Got the energy off that. There was nothing ever on the screen except... They say now that that sound is actually the sound of the Big Bang. It's what left of the Big Bang. I'm not sure Fritz wasn't aware of that. Echoes of the Big Bang.
Cool. Yeah, his art is really interesting. It seems like a lot of his styles, like faces coming out of other faces. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I don't know. You know, back in I collected art in the '60s. At the same time, I was sort of experimenting with drugs, and I like to see those things on smoking a joint or on psychedelics, and I like the things that that sort of made sense on those substances. And Fritz was always one of those. Those multiple images always blended beautifully and unfolded beautifully. You know, I think he had a psychedelic kind of vision. I enjoyed all of his paintings uniformly, any of them. They all had that magic. I think he had a great talent. He lost some paintings, I remember. I think they were stolen. Somebody came and bought a group of them with a bad check. One great painting, a lion painting, had a small hole in it. I gave Fritz an attack knife, and he threw it at the painting one day. But still, his paintings are around. I think most of them are in the area. I'm glad to have the 3 or 4 that I have around me. They wear well. It's now been 30 or 40 years. They're great paintings to have around. Without the drugs.
Yeah. Well, Angel and I were staring at one the other night, a little bit high, and I definitely started to see a little bit more than I had before.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think he needed drugs. I don't think he could take anything. And we were experimenting with psychedelics and joints. That was all. And there was some time with cocaine too. Cocaine was something that Fritz was about the only thing that I know of that he wouldn't touch. I think he had no problem with his ego. His ego was plenty big. It needed no inflation. He used to think coke was a myth. He used to say it's a myth. And he could really take amazing amounts of things. You know, if you take, when pills were around, you know, it was Seconal or whatever, you take a handful of them and take some vodka to wash them down with, and then go out and party. I saw him at a party once where he'd accidentally swallowed some gasoline by accident, helping somebody get some gas from one car to another one. And he'd swallowed it, you know? I mean, that would put you in bed. He went to the party. You know? He was a little bit subdued for Fritz, but he was there. He was amazing.
Yeah, he seems like a magnetic kind of person. And
He was great. There was so much light in Fritz, so much energy and joy. It was great company. No bullshit in Fritz. One of the few people over the years that I miss. I miss him more than anybody that's gone, actually. Great company. Great to know he was around. Great to hear his laugh in the distance. The last year or so, with the restaurant, he would come every Sunday for brunch and just sit and read. And then suddenly his health went and he was gone. Seemed like a short time. Fritz Mooney.
did you ever travel with him?
No.
Any memorable stories that he would bring back from jungle or wherever? His trips to Morocco?
The vision of him, I have one memory of him, an image of him going to Manaus in the Amazon in a suit I gave him, a Cardin suit. He said, I wore it to Manaus, to the opera house or something. It was like a green velvet suit, with a coat down to the knees. He was at home in the world. It really was his place, anywhere. But I didn't have the pleasure of traveling with him.
Can you speak about some of his things that he would paint, and maybe where he got his inspiration for those, as far as maybe animals or people?
Well, I don't. The paintings that I saw were mostly portraits. One of the paintings here is based on the Porta de Ronda. I recognize it from barely. He's changed it a lot, but I think I seem to remember the image of it around when he painted it. Most of his paintings were people. Multiple images of one person. And the supplies, because Oaxaca was much more remote then than it is now, and we supplied him with happily for a long time with Liquitex acrylic, because I'd commissioned this house is built on a chapel, and at one point in those days we were going to paint the whole chapel, and the American color school was these stain paintings and bands of color, and I thought we'd do the whole chapel like that. And an American painter, Edward Avedisian, I'd met in New York and commissioned him to do it. He came over and stayed the summer, brought a huge crate of Liquitex acrylics that never arrived, and he finally just got completely frustrated and left. A few weeks after he left, the crate arrived, and it supplied Fritz with acrylic, and there were about 75 mescaline tablets in there too. But wonderful supply of acrylics for at least 5 years, I think. It was great. It was great to be a part of his work in that way. Very durable stuff too, acrylic. It's holding up after all these years. And waterproof. Great to talk about Fritz. It really makes me miss him.
Y el cuadro del Indalo lo pintó, ¿tú viste cuando lo hizo?
No, I wasn't there, and I actually forget how I got it. It wasn't a commission. I don't know if I saw it in an exhibit. I don't know if Fritz offered it. It's on wood. I'm a bit hazy on that. Don't know if I got it from Lennox's place in Badar, from the gallery there. I honestly can't remember. I think it was before that.
What's your most memorable Fritz painting? If you think of one.
Well, the one that I enjoy the most is that small gate of Ronda. That's the one that's always around and always has a change on it.
Can you start over by saying one of my favorite paintings?
Sure. One of my favorite paintings of Fritz is that small gate, the Ronda gate. I've seen very big ones and some medium ones, but this small one has I have a special connection to it. It's always right around where I see it every day, and it kind of unfolds. It's always changing. And I remember a postcard of the gate of Ronda, and you can see the similarity. I think that's what inspired him, but there's almost nothing there but the form of the gate. The rest is totally Fritz. But his use of colors was very special.
He painted a lot of women, and he loved painting women and men too, right? Nudes.
Yes. I don't think he had. I don't know. I don't know. Fritz enjoyed himself so much, and he enjoyed everything and everybody. Maybe because I'm a man, I thought he enjoyed men more, but maybe not. He really enjoyed. He knew how to enjoy life.